Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Wake Up Wednesday. At least I hope you're awake because it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm recording this, and you better be out of bed and up and at it. Hey, I'm in here in the barn along with some of my fine feathered friends because it's nasty outside. The wind is blowing. It's 30 degrees. It's snowing like crazy. We're supposed to have a winter storm passing through here. Winter storm warnings are up for around 10 inches of snow between tonight and tomorrow. And it's like, this is going to be nuts. It's going to be crazy. So, let's get on with the passage we want to talk about, which is from Paul's letter to the Corinthians, his first letter that we have in our scriptures. But we already know that other letters have been sent, and he's had correspondence with this church that he started there, and he really loves them. In fact, we saw a couple weeks ago, he starts out with a real flowery hello and greeting and stuff like that. And then last week, he started talking about, are you guys... what's up with you? You're all these divisions you have. Have you chopped Jesus up into a bunch of pieces, and each of you taken a piece for yourself and saying, hey, I belong to Jesus, or Jesus belongs to me? You know, he said, that's a bunch of nonsense. You have to be unified in your faith and not, I'm number one or you're number, anyhow. He's moving on in our passage that we have for this coming Sunday. It's 1 Corinthians 1, 18 through 31. And it's a passage in which he makes reference to a lot of what you might want to call Greek thought. So you have to kind of put yourself a little bit in that mindset. He uses the images of wisdom and debating and things like that, because this was kind of the mindset of that culture. But what's interesting in all of this is he turns wisdom upside down. The wisdom that the Corinthians think should be the way of wisdom, and turns it into God's way of wisdom. And you might be asking me, what are you talking about? Well, it uses words such as the wisdom of this world is foolishness, and God uses what we consider to be foolish for his advantage, and that's where his power is being made known. Okay, now you're really getting a little confused, just as I am, with his argumentation. But in the end, it makes a lot of sense. What he's trying to tell the Corinthian church is, don't fall victim to we're number one. Okay, we're in the middle of the playoffs. Well, I'm actually getting toward the end of the football playoffs right now. The conference championships are this week, and then in another 2 weeks we'll have the Super Bowl being played. And it's all about being number one, being the best, being the strongest, being the meanest. What Paul's saying is, that's not the way it is in the church. Jesus showed his power where? By dying on the cross. And for the world, that is foolishness. You don't die if you're the savior of the world. You don't die if you're the one who's the leader, who's leading the troops into warfare, into battle, and coming out victorious. No, you're the winner. You're alive. You're number one. You're on top of the heap. Jesus being crucified, that's the most humiliating and worst way to die. But God showed his love, his power through that act on the cross where Jesus died and came back to life. Paul is the first one who talks about, in our Christian writings, this letter to the Corinthians was written right in the 50s of the Common Era, AD. And it's the first bit of Christian literature that we have that references Jesus dying for us and also his resurrection from the dead. Yeah, it's not the Gospels. They're written later. Paul has our earliest Christian literature that's in the Bible. So keep that in mind. There, even the rooster agrees with me there. So what he's getting at for the Corinthians is saying, hey, look to the power of God, which is the cross of Christ. And there we see the power of love at work. And that's what's important for all of you in your church, in your community of faith. So, you know what? All this bickering and fighting and that, and trust me, as we get in further into the letter to the Corinthians, his first letter, we'll see even more stuff that Paul gets very explicitly talking about. But for now, this is what he wants them to know, that what is most important is not this debating using the wisdom techniques of your culture, but using the wisdom techniques of God, of Yahweh, the one who gives of himself, empties himself in love for you and for me. And you know what? Unfortunately, that's going to be considered foolishness by many in the world. And we just have to accept that, live with it, and trust our God to lead us forward, to live faithful and devout lives for him by loving one another in this world. Okay, let me tell you, the snow is coming down pretty good. The roosters are crowing in here, but they're high, they're dry, only they have to make about a 20-yard run for the coop before I put them away to bed tonight. Otherwise, I'll just shut the door and they can stay in here tonight. God's blessings be with you, and get your snow shovels ready, and hopefully maybe where you're at, not so much. Catch you tomorrow as we sit around the coffee table for Coffee Shop Thursday.